Get me in the middle.
Yeah, you want to be in the middle somewhere.
Somewhere in the middle. Our house in the middle of our street.
Did you ever watch the TV show The Middle?
I love that show.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, they made
Yeah.
that. The who is it? I forget the lady's name. Dude, she's a hoot, man.
Patricia Heaton. It's amazing how many how much success on TV she's had with Everybody Loves Raymond and then that show. That's like residuals forever.
I know. She's a Christian, that's why.
That's why all the Christians in Hollywood are so successful.
That's exactly why.
Yeah.
It's so true. That's so not true, right?
It's so not true. No, it's not. Yeah, it's too bad though. You know what? I have a theory that most of us can handle lack,
Yeah.
but most of us can't handle abundance. Like I think we see that. Like you get even like in a spiritual gift, you're like heavily anointed as a worship leader, and you see someone, you're like, they are amazing, and then 3 years down the road they're doing nothing. I don't mean they fell morally, even they're just not doing anything because they weren't able to keep doing work. They thought I've made it, I'm anointed, and they never go into like how do they learn, how do they lead themselves, how do they actually lead others, how do they get along with a pastor, how do they craft their skill. I think we're not. Hey, did I tell you that story of when Jim and I went there last year? I always have some questions when we travel. I had a question, and let me ask you this question, then I'll continue my story. Okay. I asked Jim, like, who is there anybody that you can think of that you can probably learn something from them or a lot from them, but you don't like how they deliver their message, you don't like how they represent, you don't like how they speak, or you just don't like their personality. So he named a couple people.
Oh, absolutely.
And then he asked me, and I couldn't name anybody. But later on in the trip, I was like, I named a guy. I think God's not asking us to accept all of their words or all of their ministry, but there's that slice of something that's for us that we're missing, that they're heavy in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think for me, it was Chuck Parry, and he's at Bethel, and he does Bethel healing schools. And he's older than me. I'm 62. He's probably late 60s. So I think somebody said he's 70. But he just glides in, man. He glides. He's got longish hair, and it kind of flows here, and it's like wavy, and he just like it's. And this is how it for me. He's like, dudes, man, God is so good. It's like you can just experience him wherever you are.
He talks like that.
Not at all. But that's how I hear him. I'm like, whatever. He just like, I hear him, and there's something just like turns off in my head, and I would have never said up to that point I don't not like him, but obviously I have a problem with him.
Yeah.
So
Todd White's like that with me. Todd White is the same thing, long hair.
Gotcha.
Man,
Yeah.
dude, man.
Well, this guy doesn't even talk that way. I mean, he's
Todd White talks like that.
Yeah.
Trust me, nuts.
Well, Chuck Parry's very established, So we get to church that night for, I think it was a Bethel Leadership Network. I'm not part of the network any longer, but Wes and these other guys were. So I got like, fourth or fifth row, kind of up front to the side, even though I kind of got there late. So I'm there, and the Lord's given me a couple instruction. One is to like not talk to very many people. Usually I would interact a lot with people. I didn't get up and talk to anybody. I didn't. And he says, I don't want you singing the words of the songs for worship, which that's weird, right?
Yeah, that's weird.
Like I want you to be quiet. And so, So I'm sitting there, and they have like this little open, like they have like a pre-music this night, and I'm crying. God's really touching me. I feel like I get close to something, but it's like getting close to the sun, and it's really, really like disturbing me. And God's like, "That's my love," And then so I've got tears coming down my eyes. So then they start, and the guy who starts the service is Chuck Parry. And, in my mind, he's got a tie dye. He doesn't, this is not how he's dressed, but in my mind, he's
That
got
is
a
so
tie,
funny that's your perspective.
that he's got a tie-dyed t-shirt on, and he's like, got a headband and long hair and, dirty feet and some dirty sandals. And he was up there, but it just blesses it, blesses the service. Then the music, he walks down, he comes around, and he's just smiling and shaking hands, and he puts his arm on me, and man, the Lord
He did
convicts
that,
me.
really?
Yeah. He did. He really did that in normal clothes. And the Lord convicts me and is like, Les, your issue with Chuck Parry is you don't believe anybody can experience my love the way that he describes that he experiences my love.
Wow.
So by the time Chuck puts his hand on me, in my spirit, I'm just laughing, man. This is hilarious setup from God. From the conversation I have with my buddy driving down there, and then all of that. I'm gonna pause right there, and then the whole not talking to people. So the service starts, and the worship starts. I just start crying, just tears down my face, and Jim's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." And a little bit later, "Do you want to talk about it?" I'm like, "No." Which normally I would say God's doing this. I'm like, "No."
Right.
And then I think the one or two of the other guys are like, "Hey, look at your buddy." They're telling Jim, "Look at Les." God's really. But what happened during that time was like just being obedient, because I drove there on my own, like an 8-hour trip, and God's like, I want you to be quiet. Like before I left Richland to drive down there, I felt like God say, I want you to be quiet. And so, man, God really touched me. Like, I remember the moments I was going over this little pass. It was all snowy, blah, blah, blah. I had to pull over. I was crying so hard. So I get there, the Chuck Parry thing happens. And then, so what happened during worship, like for an hour, is as soon as or before the worship started or somebody started speaking, I would experience whatever the song was about. So if the song was about God's love, I was experiencing God's love without saying a word. I wasn't worshiping. I guess I was worshiping, but I wasn't singing. And then when he talked about Jesus as a
great
friend,
point. That's a great point.
Yeah, then Jesus as a friend, it was like I was frolicking on the beach with Jesus. I mean, and I don't have like these real, but it was like, so it was like disturbing and awesome at the same time. So I'm crying and then I think it was Haley Braun might have spoke. And every time she started talking about something, it was like, God's like, you've experienced that with me. And I would just start crying. Or it was like a weird day. So fast forward to a Sunday morning at Bethel during the work. That's the only time I went to Bethel was Sunday morning. The girls went 10 days in a row. Sunday morning at Bethel, my back's been hurting. I played a lot of volleyball in the pool, water volleyball, and my back to my hips. So I've seen an ortho on. I've been doing stretches, but my back was hurting that Sunday. I thought, I'm going to go down and get prayer. It's not super necessary. I get in line, and there's Chuck Parry in line. So, and it opens up. And before somebody guides, I'm like jamming to get, and I was like, I would like prayer, but I first want to confess this. So I told him that story.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, and I said,
Oh
will you lay hands on me and bless me with God's love? And so he laughs. He's got this. He's got it now. Now he's like, his laugh is great, and he had a haircut. Thank God, because But what I had done when I got home from the first time is I had bought his book and I read his book, not all of it, but I was like, it's amazing stories. It's like, but he comes from that background. He got saved in the 60s, early 70s in the hippie movement in California. Yeah. Radically saved. He would they would travel with him and his wife and his baby, and they would just it'd get dark. They'd pull their van over and just put a blanket out and go to sleep, and it would rain everywhere except for on their blanket sort of thing. I mean, he's like, God's got us, man. And so when he was done, I was like, thank you so much. And I took a selfie with him. He's like, absolutely.
Did you really?
I did, yeah. He's like, and I'm so glad I could be an offense unto you. And he laughed. I laughed. It was so funny, man. So Because every time when I was going to Bethel, Jim texted me like, "Oh, be sure to give your BFF Chuck a hug." I was like, "Whatever." So I did. Anyways, isn't that funny, man? But I realized that God's always like, man, he's always jabbing at me. He's always jabbing at me. It's not like people say it's like, "Oh, God spoke to me. It was so soft and so gentle." God kind of like grabs me by the shirt, or jab, 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 jab. And so the Chuck Parry thing, I'm saying his name a lot because I want to get used to it, but it's super funny, man.
I don't know him. I guess I'm gonna have to look it up and see if I've ever heard him. I don't recognize that name.
No, he's like a secondary level. Been there, I think, like 30. Been there a long time. He's just a really chill guy, and I really do. I go back to that, like the disbelief, also probably the jealousy, not recognizing it as disbelief, not recognizing it as jealousy, actually putting on him, me thinking my thoughts about him were about him and they weren't about me, right? And we do that all the time. And judgment is like, I'm thinking that my dislike, and I would have never said I didn't like him until I'm having an open conversation. But in my mind, I never thought I don't like that guy. It was just like, eh. And so the Lord is like, he like hardly lets me judge anybody. It's really annoying. You need to
that
pray
would be
for me
annoying.
and
he lets me judge people sometimes.
you need to pray for me and go before the Lord on my behalf and say, "God, just let's judge 3 ministers every quarter."
Yeah, exactly. The way it's hard for me because like I have to turn them off or I will judge. Like you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
And I don't like that. I wish I could eat the hay, spit out the sticks more.
Right.
But man, when I take a bite of the sticks, I'm just done, you know, and it's hard for me not to walk in judgment and find like, okay, well, that's wrong, you know, and then I go on a fault finding mission, right? And it's easy to find that. So,
well, I think now, you know, I've used that phrase recently. I used that phrase on this trip. I think I gave you credit about, say that phrase about sticks again.
Eat the hay, spit out the sticks.
Yeah, I think we need to start saying "eat the hay, spit out the gravel."
That's probably better.
It's damaging. Sticks aren't it's gravel. It's like, I was thinking about that this week. It's just, but so many ministries and people that are on social media and stuff that lots of people are following are
false prophets. No, I'm just kidding.
It's so much gravel. It's so much drivel. It's so much, you know. Oh, and by the way, this is the podcast. I might not do anything with this. I just thought we'd catch up, but
I think the like people gravitate towards that. In other words,
yes,
like, right. So it's sort of like,
that's true.
It's sort of like a parent, you know, who just provides you with garbage to eat. You know, it never anything healthy.
Yeah,
and you like it. Right.
Yeah.
It's candy and ice cream and cake and there's nothing of substance. And so you eat a steady diet of that and you begin to crave that.
Yeah.
Right. And then they just facilitate that because it's working. Right. It's working. I think that's the thing I struggle with is because it becomes this craving or this thing that people are craving that's not healthy.
Yes, that's right. And it's not only not, it's not healthy, and it not being healthy is creating, you know, a really brittle bone system or structure, a way of thinking, weak sauce when it comes to thinking, applying scripture, living it out. So much of it is not applicable at all. It's really awful stuff. I saw your post. I commented on your post from a few days ago. I just saw it today.
About the ear thing?
Yes.
The blood on the ear. I read that and I thought, this is so stupid. Right. And
stupid.
And
Worse
people are
than
posting
stupid.
that. People were reposting that. And I thought, number one, you're taking a portion of that scripture, not the context.
Yep.
and it makes no sense.
Yep.
Nothing you're saying makes sense, except for you desperately want him to be the chosen one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe God's gonna anoint him, right? Maybe. But to use that scripture to prove that point is that's one of the things that's very wrong about believers and how they approach this whole election
I want to
thing.
challenge you to use a better word than stupid.
Okay.
I want you to use like dangerous or idolatrous, or I would come up with a better word than like a stronger word. It is stupid. It's ignorant and stupid.
Stupid is a naughty word.
No, not because it's a naughty word, because it's too easy.
That's a movie line. That's a movie.
Oh.
Here we go, welcome to the show. It's a journey life, yo, you already know. We taking clips, making flips, getting lit, dropping knowledge and wisdom, gonna make you uplift. This is the journey life, no need to stress. We'll guide you through the ups and the downs, yo. Let's sit back, relax, let the rhythm flow. We on that hip hop ride, let's go, ooh yeah.